Listen up, XRP Army. What I'm about to tell you is going to change everything you thought you knew about this market. We are literally standing at the edge of the biggest wealth transfer in cryptocurrency history. And if you're not paying attention right now, you're going to miss the opportunity of a lifetime. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you the brutal truth about what's happening behind closed doors, what the mainstream media won't tell you, and why the next few weeks could make or break your financial future. You know what's crazy? While everyone else is chasing meme coins and getting distracted by the latest shiny object, something massive is happening with XRP that most people are completely oblivious to. And the crazy part is it's happening right under our noses. Let me start with something that just happened that has me absolutely fired up. The Federal Reserve decision that's coming tomorrow isn't just about interest rates. This is about the entire financial system pivoting, and XRP is positioned perfectly to capitalize on this shift. But here's what nobody's talking about. I've been following this market for years, and I've never seen institutional preparation like what we're witnessing right now. While retail investors are sitting on the sidelines waiting for confirmation, the smart money is already making their moves. And if you're not positioned correctly right now, you're going to watch this opportunity slip through your fingers. The Rex Osprey XRP ETF that's launching this week, this isn't just another financial product. This is the moment when XRP transitions from a cryptocurrency that banks and institutions use behind the scenes to a mainstream investment vehicle that every pension fund, hedge fund, and institutional investor can access. Do you understand what that means for demand? Right now, there are literally millions of investors who want exposure to XRP but can't buy it directly because of regulatory uncertainty or because their investment platforms don't support it. The moment these ETFs go live, that floodgate opens. We're talking about potentially billions of dollars in institutional money that has been sitting on the sidelines waiting for this exact moment. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is where most people are going to get this completely wrong. Everyone thinks the price is going to explode the moment the ETF launches. That's not how this works. The real movement happens in the weeks and months following the launch as institutional adoption accelerates and as the market realizes what this actually means for XRP's role in the global financial system. I've been tracking the numbers, and we currently have 12 different issuers with 18 different XRP ETF products in the pipeline. This isn't just one company taking a bet on XRP. This is an entire industry of financial institutions recognizing what's coming and positioning themselves accordingly. And speaking of positioning, let me tell you about something that happened today that has me absolutely convinced we're on the right track. Vivo Power, a Nasdaq-listed company, just announced they're creating a treasury reserve holding containing XRP. Think about this for a second. A publicly traded company is putting XRP on their balance sheet as a treasury asset. This is exactly what happened with Bitcoin when MicroStrategy started buying. Except this time, it's happening with XRP. And most people aren't even paying attention yet. When other companies start following Vivo Power's lead, and they will, we're going to see a supply shock that will make the 2017 rally look like a warm-up. But let me tell you about the news that just broke, literally minutes before I started recording this. The United States and the United Kingdom are announcing a new cryptocurrency cooperation deal. This isn't just some regulatory framework they're discussing. This is two of the world's largest financial powers formally collaborating on cryptocurrency policy and implementation. For years, we've been dealing with regulatory uncertainty in the United States. Gary Gensler and the SEC have been waging war on crypto, trying to classify everything as a security and creating chaos in the market. But something has fundamentally shifted. The UK has been crypto-friendly for a while now, and seeing the US formally cooperate with them on crypto policy tells me that the regulatory landscape is about to change dramatically. And here's why this matters specifically for XRP. Remember, XRP has been fighting this legal battle with the SEC for years. But what most people don't realize is that during this entire legal battle, XRP has been building its infrastructure, expanding its partnerships, and positioning itself for exactly this moment when regulatory clarity finally arrives. While other cryptocurrencies have been riding hype cycles and speculative bubbles, XRP has been quietly becoming the backbone of international payments. Right now, as I'm speaking to you, banks and financial institutions around the world are using XRP for cross-border transactions because it's faster, cheaper, and more efficient than anything else available. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night with excitement. All of this institutional adoption, all of these partnerships, all of this infrastructure development has been happening while XRP has been trading at suppressed prices because of the SEC lawsuit and general market uncertainty. What happens when that uncertainty disappears and the market finally recognizes XRP's true utility and adoption? I want you to think about this logically for a second. We have a digital asset that solves real-world problems, has massive institutional adoption, is about to have multiple ETFs providing easy access for institutional investors, and is finally getting regulatory clarity, and it's still trading at a fraction of its all-time high, while most other cryptocurrencies are trading near or above their previous peaks. This is either the opportunity of a lifetime, or I'm completely missing something. And I've been studying this market long enough to know that when all the fundamentals align like this, the market eventually catches up to reality. But let me be completely honest with you about something. The next few weeks are going to be volatile. Tomorrow's Federal Reserve decision is going to create immediate market reactions that could go either way. If they cut rates by 25 basis points, which seems to be what most people expect, we might see modest positive movement. If they surprise everyone with a 50 basis point cut, we could see significant upward momentum across all risk assets, including crypto. But if they decide not to cut rates at all, which some people are predicting, we could see short-term turbulence. And here's why I'm actually glad we haven't seen massive price appreciation leading up to tomorrow's decision. Too often in this market, we see buy the rumor, sell the news scenarios where the price runs up in anticipation of an event and then crashes when the event actually happens. The fact that XRP has remained relatively stable while all this positive news has been developing tells me that the market hasn't fully priced in what's coming. And that creates opportunity for those of us who are paying attention. I've been watching the institutional flow data, and what I'm seeing is consistent accumulation at these levels. Smart money doesn't move fast and doesn't chase pumps. Smart money accumulates quietly over time when they see value that the broader market hasn't recognized yet. And that's exactly what we're seeing with XRP right now. While retail investors are focused on the daily price movements and short-term volatility, institutions are building positions for what they see coming over the next 12 to 18 months. Let me paint you a picture of where I think we're headed. The ETF launches create easy institutional access. The regulatory cooperation between the US and UK provides the clarity that's been missing. The Federal Reserve's monetary policy creates a favorable environment for risk assets. And XRP's existing utility and adoption finally gets recognized by the broader market. When all of these factors converge, and I believe they're going to converge very soon, we're not talking about a small price appreciation. We're talking about a fundamental revaluation of what XRP is worth in a world where it's widely adopted for international payments and recognized as a legitimate institutional asset. But here's what I want you to understand. This isn't financial advice, and I'm not telling you what to do with your money. What I'm telling you is to pay attention to what's happening around you. The signs are everywhere if you know where to look. The cooperation deal between the US and UK isn't just about regulatory frameworks. It's about recognizing that cryptocurrency and digital assets are going to be a fundamental part of the future financial system. And when two of the world's largest economies formally cooperate on crypto policy, that sends a signal to every other country and every other institution that this space is legitimate and here to stay. I've been in this space long enough to remember when Bitcoin was considered a joke by traditional finance. I remember when Ethereum was dismissed as just another altcoin. And I remember when XRP was written off because of the SEC lawsuit. But markets have a way of eventually recognizing value, even when it takes longer than we'd like. The difference between now and previous bull runs is the level of institutional preparation we're seeing. This isn't retail FOMO driving prices. This is methodical institutional positioning based on fundamental analysis and long-term strategic planning. And that's why I believe what's coming is going to be different from anything we've seen before. Previous bull runs were driven by speculation and hype. What I think we're about to see is a bull run driven by actual utility, adoption, and institutional recognition. XRP has spent years building the infrastructure and partnerships necessary to handle massive scale. While other projects were focused on marketing and hype, XRP was focused on solving real problems for real institutions. And now, finally, the market is starting to recognize that approach. The Vivo Power announcement today is just the beginning. When one publicly traded company puts XRP on their balance sheet, others start paying attention. When multiple companies start doing it, it becomes a trend. And when it becomes a trend, we see the kind of supply shock that drives significant price appreciation. But let me tell you something that most people in this space don't want to hear. This isn't going to happen overnight. The institutional adoption cycle takes time. The regulatory clarity process takes time. The market recognition process takes time. If you're looking for a quick flip or a moonshot that happens in the next week, XRP might not be for you. But if you're looking for a digital asset that's positioned to benefit from the long-term transformation of the global financial system, then you need to be paying attention to what's happening right now. I've seen too many people in this space make the mistake of selling right before the major move because they got impatient or because they didn't understand the timeline of institutional adoption. Don't be one of those people. The cooperation deal between the US and UK, the multiple ETF launches, the corporate treasury adoption, the Federal Reserve's monetary policy, these aren't random events happening at the same time. These are interconnected developments that are setting the stage for what I believe will be XRP's recognition as a major institutional asset. And when that recognition happens, the price appreciation we see won't be driven by speculation or hype. It will be driven by actual demand from institutions that need XRP for its utility and by investors who recognize its role in the future financial system. But here's the reality check you need to hear. None of this is guaranteed. Markets are unpredictable, and even the best analysis can be wrong. What I'm sharing with you is my interpretation of the data and trends I'm seeing. You need to do your own research and make your own decisions. What I will say is this. I've never been more convinced about XRP's long-term prospects than I am right now. The fundamentals are stronger than they've ever been. The institutional interest is real and growing. The regulatory environment is finally improving, and the utility and adoption continue to expand. If I'm right about what's coming, the people who position themselves correctly during this period of uncertainty and accumulation are going to benefit enormously from what happens over the next 12 to 18 months. If I'm wrong, well, that's the risk we take when we invest in emerging technologies and transformative assets. But based on everything I'm seeing, everything I'm researching, and everyone I'm talking to in this space, I believe the risk-reward profile for XRP right now is as attractive as it's ever been. Tomorrow's Federal Reserve decision will give us short-term volatility and immediate market reactions. But the long-term trajectory of XRP is being determined by much larger forces than a single monetary policy decision. The cooperation between the US and UK on cryptocurrency policy is a signal that the regulatory uncertainty that has held this space back is finally starting to resolve. The ETF launches are a signal that institutional access is expanding. The corporate treasury adoption is a signal that businesses are starting to recognize XRP as a legitimate store of value. When you step back and look at the bigger picture, all of these developments are pointing in the same direction. And that direction is toward mainstream institutional adoption and recognition of XRP as a critical component of the future financial system. So yes, it's our time. Not because I say so, but because the fundamentals, the institutional interest, the regulatory environment, and the market dynamics are all aligning in ways that we haven't seen before. The question isn't whether XRP will succeed. The question is whether you're going to be positioned to benefit from that success when it happens. I'll be watching tomorrow's Federal Reserve decision closely, just like all of you. But I'm not making my long-term investment decisions based on what happens tomorrow. I'm making them based on what I see happening over the next several years as cryptocurrency becomes integrated into the traditional financial system and as XRP's utility becomes widely recognized. This is our moment. This is our opportunity. And if we stay focused on the fundamentals and ignore the short-term noise, I believe we're going to look back on this period as the moment when everything changed. The institutional money is coming. The regulatory clarity is coming. The mainstream adoption is coming. And when it all comes together, XRP holders who stayed patient and focused on the long-term opportunity are going to be rewarded for their conviction. That's what I believe, that's what the data is telling me, and that's why I'm more excited about XRP's prospects today than I've ever been. The cooperation deal between the US and UK is just breaking news, and I'll be following up with more details as they become available. But what we know right now is enough to understand that something fundamental is changing in how governments and institutions view cryptocurrency. And XRP, with its focus on institutional utility and regulatory compliance, is positioned perfectly to benefit from this shift in perception and policy. Tomorrow's Federal Reserve decision will create short-term volatility. The ETF launches will create new access and demand. The corporate treasury adoption will create supply pressure. And the regulatory cooperation will create the clarity and confidence that institutions need to fully embrace digital assets. When all of these factors come together, and I believe they're going to come together very soon, we're going to see XRP finally trade at prices that reflect its actual utility, adoption, and institutional recognition. This is our time, XRP Army. Stay focused, stay patient, and stay positioned for what I believe is going to be the most significant period in XRP's history. The next few months are going to be absolutely critical, and I'll be here covering every development, every announcement, and every market movement that affects XRP's trajectory. Because this isn't just about making money. This is about being part of the financial transformation that's happening right in front of us. And XRP is going to play a central role in that transformation.